All right, you thought we were done with the SB712 Leno's Law videos? Well, so did I, but we're not, somehow. God. Wow, I opened a can of worms on this one. I decided to look at the fiscal impacts. I got the document right here, and I made some notes. And we're going to go into what the state and the various state organizations and such said SB712 was going to cost. And it's some pretty eye-opening stuff because, oh man, as you'll see, yeah, they overestimated some things, and they forgot that people have calculators on their phones, and we're going to go into that. Hope everyone's having a good Labor Day weekend. It is Labor Day as I'm filming this one. Did 2 car show videos this weekend. People asked me about the bill at both shows, and I probably could have done a better job at Ventura, I will admit, because I wasn't in exactly the greatest mood. But it seemed to be okay. People were okay with the video. All right, we're going to go into this one right here because we're just going to go into what they say stuff's going to cost. As we know, exempting classic cars from smog exemptions would actually provide more money to the state in revenue. First, from vehicles that people register out of state because they just don't want to deal with it. Second, from all the tax revenue now that people aren't afraid to restore these cars. So we got like a parrot problem in my neighborhood. So people would be spending more money on these cars, restoring these cars. Plus, a lot of the kids that get into these cars, they get into programs where they do work on these cars, and they get off the streets. They're not doing bad things. And it's generally a positive thing for the community, as are the car shows, which a lot of times provide money for charities and local things like that, and local programs. So it's generally a good thing to have classic cars in the community, which we've argued in the past. What they're arguing is how much money this is going to cost. So let's go into it. I will put a link to this document in the video description so you can check it out for yourself. We'll see what you think about it. Keep in mind this is based on the way the bill was at the end of the run, where it was only going to exempt up to 1980 and then move up a year, rolling up to 1986 with collector plates and insurance. So that's what this is based on, which I would argue, and you'll see why. If they just did away with that, made it similar how it is, the same as how it is for 1975 and older, they'd save even more money. So, and we'll argue that as well. So let's go. All right, fiscal effect. This is down on the page 1, probably down the middle. They go into what the bill would have done in the summary, but we're going to do, just because this bill exempts certain vehicles from the need to undergo smog checks, need to pay associated fees, this bill will result in foregone state revenue, which we know more people would be probably, actually registering these cars where they registered them out of the state because not to deal with this. Possibly in a significant amount. This is what it says in the analysis. In addition, the bill requires significant administration work of BAR and the Department of Motor Vehicles. Gee, did anyone complain when they stopped the rolling that there was going to be all these changes? I don't think they did. They just let that one go through. Anyhow, with initial and ongoing costs to each agency, likely in the hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. In addition, and we'll go into that, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, there's some good stuff coming up. Don't worry about that. In addition, the bill may create cost pressure on the Air Resources Board to quantify foregone emissions reductions as a result of this bill. All right. BAR anticipates the following costs and foregone revenue. This is Bureau of Automotive Repair. Again, they wouldn't have to pay for all the equipment for the old vehicles that keeps breaking and things like that, which causes a lot of problems. People complaining about that sort of thing. It says revenue loss associated with smog check fees, transaction fees, change of ownership fees, and change of ownership transaction fees of approximately $59,000, which, okay, so first of all, I don't understand why they would lose change of ownership fees, maybe because of the smog check. From what I understand, the state only gets $8.25 for every smog. That's the certificate fee you see when you get your smog check. So they're not getting the bulk of the fee you pay when you get a vehicle smog. All right, so they're saying it could be $59,000, 26 to 27, and $126,000, 27 to 28. Barr notes this loss of revenue will increase annually as new models years become exempt. Now keep in mind, as time goes on, there's fewer and fewer of these cars. So I don't think they're accounting for the fact that naturally any vehicle, even pre-smog vehicles, as the years go on, there's always going to be fewer and fewer of these, no matter what, whether they're exempted or not. So I don't think they're accounting for that. And I mean, like I said, we already know on other parts, they're going to get more tax revenue for these vehicles. Now, B, under the bar thing, one-time workload costs of approximately $43,000 to develop and implement a system to collect and store proof of collector car insurance and transmit verification results to DMV, as well as to develop procedures and staff to verify collector insurance. All right, training. You look at the paper, it says collector car insurance. You're done. Okay, there's your train. I just gave everyone that you're trained now. You at home are trained on this one. All right, but they already have a system. As you know, if you don't pay your insurance, it lapses. They send you a nasty note. If you don't pay that, they put your vehicle in suspense. It already exists. It would probably not take much to modify that system. That exists. And like I said, what training is there to look at a piece of paper that says collector car insurance? You got me. All right, so that's on the DMV side. We're going to go here, page 2, or at the top. Here's the fun one. You ready for the... Sit down, get your popcorn ready. All right. They're saying the DMV is going to have to pay, get this, $506,000 in 26-27 and $474,000 in 27 and 28 for ongoing program technicians to verify collector vehicle insurance documents on an annual basis. The Bureau expects to receive 17,500 requests each year. So we did the math, which isn't on here. Okay. If you're at, let's just say the 506,000, okay, 4 technicians at 506,000 would be $126,500, $126,500 for each technician at that amount. And at the 474,000, it would be $118,500 per technician if you're considering 4 technicians for someone to check pieces of paper that say it has collector insurance. Okay, you got that? Like the people at the DMV can't already do this. Look at a piece of paper and say, okay, that's collector insurance. Yeah, I don't buy it either. Now, as you know, there's 52 weeks in a year. 5 days in a week, that's 260 days. Now let's just say I didn't really figure it out. I don't know all the holidays that the state government takes off. Let's just say there's 20 weekdays that the state government takes off per year. That equals 240 days. Now if you divide 17,500 requests per year by 240 days, that is 73 applications per day they have to look at. Per worker, that equates to 18.25 per worker per day to just look at a piece of paper and say, oh, it's got collector car insurance. Again, they're saying that's their only job, right? I think that takes 30 seconds to a minute. I am very generous, so I will say 5 minutes. 5 minutes per one to just look at it, to read it. Okay. That would, if you spent 5 minutes, that's being really generous, per application, that would equate for each worker, they would work 91 minutes a day, which is roughly an hour and a half per day, is all they would work to make, we already saw 6-figure income. So what would that be an hourly wage? Okay, on the high end, it would be $350 per hour they'd be working. Again, they're not lawyers. They're just people looking at pieces of paper that say it has collector insurance. $330 per hour on the low end. Per hour. I don't know what you make per hour. It's not that, unless you're like a lawyer or, something... I don't know, a really good accountant. I don't know. A really good accountant will look at this and laugh their asses off. I'll tell you that. I don't know. Where do they get these numbers? I mean, they put on there thinking, oh, we'll put it's $5 million or $500,000. That looks like a big number. But when you do the actual math, it's like, no, that doesn't work. That doesn't sound right. So that really doesn't sound right. Now, keep in mind, if they just blanket exempted, this would just go away anyway, because you wouldn't have to do that. All right, so that's one cost that would actually go away if it was a blanket exemption, which is what we were originally asking for, without the plates, without the insurance. All right. IT costs of an unknown amount. Okay, it's unknown. They already said right there it's unknown. They said they have a contract with IT services at Smog check stations. After that last one, I don't trust a lot of these numbers. Let's just leave it at that. That one's pretty blatant. If the difference in revenue drops beyond a designated amount as a consequence of lost revenue from Smog check and change of ownership transaction fees, again, we know they're going to make up for that. And people restoring these cars, spending money, tax revenue, especially sales tax revenue, business tax revenue. Board of Equalization is going to be fat and happy, all that good stuff. The business projects it will owe approximately $9,000 for the first year after the bill takes effect. $9,000. That's it. That's not a lot, really, actually. I'm kind of surprised they didn't add extra zero just to be funny. After that last one. Therefore, DCA may not require additional funding to support its IT contract. All right. I don't know if the contract's for the Smog machine or what. If it is a contract for the Smog machine, obviously they're not providing machines that work. They're not keeping them working. I think there's definitely clause. I think they definitely haven't lived up to their contract, if that's the case. And I'm not a legal person, but you could probably argue that very easily that those machines are like the McFlurry machine of Smog equipment. And I'm just going to move on to the next one. DCA, the Department of Consumer Affairs, derives its funding from fees charged to licensees. Generally speaking, license fees may be adjusted only by legislation. DCA notes increases in operating costs resulting in the implementation of new legislative mandates that may place pressure on existing fee structures in totality, may necessitate, my mouth is dry now, legislation to raise license fees. I realized took a note as if it was a registration fee, like for a car. I realized that's not what it is. I don't know what these license fees are. Are they for the Smog stations? I don't know. As far as I know, they only get $8 1/4 for each Smog check. The magnitude of loss fee ultimately depends on the number of vehicles that meet the eligibility requirement established by this bill, and more importantly, the number of vehicle owners that choose to utilize the Smog check exemption every year. Again, they don't give a number for that one. I will tell you right now, there's going to be more money spent on these vehicles, restoring them, and things like that. People aren't going to be afraid to do full restorations on these anymore, and that it is going to boost your businesses. It's going to boost your all your restoration shops and your part suppliers and your sales tax revenue. All right. Ongoing costs of an unknown amount. Everything's unknown. You ever notice that? Except for the one where they're saying these guys are going to make $330 to $350 an hour. I want that job. I want the job where I work 90 minutes any day and make $330 an hour. That'd be fantastic. I'd love that one. Ongoing amounts, cost of an unknown amount, potentially in the hundreds of thousands of dollars annually for DMV to update its forms, publications, and web content to make annual programming modifications to its vehicle registration systems, motor vehicle account, MVA. DMV will incur costs to process a great number of Smog check waivers for collector motor vehicles. Now, the DMV updates its forms every few years anyway. I had a scooter shop for many years. I also worked at a car dealership selling vehicles for a while. They update those forms anyway. That they just do. They don't leave them the same way, and so I don't see where that's an extra cost. But there you go. DMV, like I said, they changed their forms. Also, they didn't seem to complain about all these extra costs when they got rid of the rolling that they could have left in place 20 years ago. But there you go. All right. Further, DMV anticipates a revenue loss of an unknown amount on the vehicle license fees as more vehicles opt for the historic license plate. The VLF for a vehicle with a historic plate is $2, rather based on market value. So they're arguing they're going to lose the VLF. Well, guess what? Most people don't want to give up their plates and would be more than happy to pay the VLF to keep their original blue license plates or sunset plates. We're not talking about vehicles with black plates. Go to a car show any car show, even ones that have pre-whatever year car shows, hardly anybody runs the historic vehicle plates. It's generally people with commercial vehicles because it does waive the weight fee, or people with like military vehicles or ones that like ambulances, historic ambulances, historic police cars and things like that, because they run the historic plates just to avoid confusion of an active duty police or emergency vehicle. But for the most part, people know that they would save money running those plates, but they prefer to run either a personalized plate or original issue plates or year manufacturer plates. So again, that's one that if they just made it a blanket exemption, that would actually not even be a cost. In fact, they would keep their VLF. DMV notes, that's like anything I talk about as if they left it alone the way the bill was originally. That's almost like a side note, but hopefully you guys are following along here. I don't know. DMV notes the MVA is facing insolvency, and it's may revise for fiscal year 25-26. The administration noted that given the ongoing fiscal constraints in the MVA, the administration will continue to prioritize fiscal discipline. This means limiting new workload or initiatives, including those with delayed implementation dates that would create additional cost pressures over time. Yeah, because our registration fees are so cheap here in California towards others compared to other states, right? And they run their stuff. Yeah, our registration fees are generally the highest in the country. I would say if they don't have the money, they need to figure out where it went, because man, I talk to people who moved out of state. The first thing I hear is, oh, I registered all my cars and it cost me the same price for all my cars as it did for one car in California. I hear that all the time. So I'm sure you guys hear it too. So I don't know. That's more of like a problem where they need to figure out where that money's going. All right, number 3, the ARB, that's California Air Resources Board, for all you guys who want to complain about them in the comments. Great, now the comment, don't please, we know, we get it, all right. ARB notes that while the smog check program is under jurisdiction of BAR, ARB relies on the program to meet federal Clean Air Act requirements for areas of the state with unhealthy levels of criteria, pollutants. Accordingly, ARB anticipates cost pressures of an unknown but potentially significant amount, possibly in the millions to tens of millions of dollars annually, to achieve emissions reductions from other sectors to make up for foregone emissions. Again, they don't go into actual numbers for this. Honestly, the numbers aren't going to go up. The cars keep declining in numbers, and the majority of these cars, they're all staying the same. Cars that pass every 2 years, such as the ones I have, are going to continue to pass every 2 years, or continue to hit the same numbers, whether they're tested or not. So there you go. ARB cautions this bill will put the state at risk of backtracking on legally enforceable commitments under the CAA, which may result in, I don't know, you can go into this stuff. It is reasonable to assume ARB will incur some costs. It just says some costs, so it doesn't give an actual number, to quantify foregone emissions reductions. Again, I don't think there's going to be any increase in emissions, especially since the number of the vehicles is going to continue to decline, regardless of whether or not they are exempted or not. They're not making these cars anymore. That's why we're trying to protect them. They're culturally significant, is what I'm saying. All right, so for its part, ARB estimates ongoing annual costs of approximately $1.2 million. Oh, this is where they want to hire more people. They just want to hire more people. ARB estimates ongoing annual costs of approximately $1.2 million to hire 5 people, vehicle inspection and repair fund, to develop an extensive test program to evaluate. It sounds like more like what they want to do than what they have to do. Emission impact, coordinate with BAR, DMV, and local air district, incorporate the data into air quality models, revise federally required plans and other tasks. Okay, federal required plans. This has nothing to do with federally required plans. They're saying we need $1.2 million to do the stuff for what's going on at the federal level, which we already know has nothing to do with classic cars in the state of California, because we've researched the hell out of that, and we know that. So even they're saying that this is not just for the classic car thing. This is for like the federal thing, including the getting rid of the waivers from the federal government to CARB, which again has nothing to do with what we're doing, despite what everyone keeps thinking. So there's no way they're going to hire more people because they exempted classic cars from emissions testing. It's not going to happen. All right, I will say that. I don't believe it. I will never believe it. They have their equipment. They test the air. I'm sure they've got them everywhere. They probably have them at your grandmother's house. No, they have the test equipment all over the place. Whatever they have for testing this stuff exists. It's an infrastructure that's already been built, and it's going to continue. Again, they say right there that once they mention the federally plan, this isn't a federal plan. This is on the state level. So they're kind of saying we need all this money for these plans, but then they even say in their text here, this is including stuff that has nothing to do with the classic car and SB712. Is how I read it. Anything about this is how I read it. So, yeah. So the rest of it goes into what the pro side said, which we already know because I've discussed that to death. So I think reading into a lot of their costs, a lot of them are extra costs, which a lot of people have speculated, that looked at this even, that they added those extra amendments knowing they would add the extra cost to the bill for when it got to the appropriations, because if you got rid of them, it would completely eliminate those costs. And the only cost would be really to get a computer guy to go in and change the computer, just like they did 20 years ago when they got rid of the rolling exemption. They had to pay a computer guy in there, go in there and change the computer, which, you know, I don't think it's literally like two numbers. It goes from 75 to 95 or whatever year. I still think they should go up to 95. I think the state would actually save money getting rid of the OBD2 test, which a lot of people do think. We did a whole thing on the Bureau of Automotive Repair. I did a video on their numbers going into their meeting, as well as a video off after the meeting going over what was said at their meeting. In fact, the costs, we know the cost to the actual consumer of these tests is going to continue to go up, especially if they get rid of a lot of the stations that do them. If there's fewer stations, they're going to charge more. If they have people have to actually go to a state-run thing, you know it's going to be a bureaucracy. It's going to be very hard to get an appointment, as it is right now for a bar ref. And it's going to create even more problems. Right now, what we're looking at is old cars, fewer of them every year. People are trying to preserve them because they're part of our culture and part of our history. Yeah. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think about the numbers. I will put a link to the actual document in the description of the video, and you can go check this one out yourself. Let me know what you think of my analysis. I think especially that one about the extra DMV employees who are going to be making an astronomical amount of money for looking at like a one piece of paper every few minutes. It's pretty eye-opening, if you ask me. Hopefully we can get another bill going here, maybe in the next, I don't know, a few years, and maybe we can get some more people involved with this. Seems like every time we get this going, we get a lot more people involved. I know the group Californians for Classic Car Smog Exemptions is now up to over 6,000 members, which is pretty fantastic. This time we've gotten a lot further than we had in the past, especially since we have Leno on board. The senators that worked on this, both Democrat and Republican, did a great job on this one to get this as far as it could. Unfortunately, we could not get this one over the finish line. I'm not happy about it. I was in a funk for a few days, which I did not want to be in a funk when I'm filming Ventura Nationals, which is one of my favorite car shows, let's just be honest. But this is where we are. I'm not quitting. A lot of people aren't quitting. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep pushing. Hopefully we can make something happen. Hopefully we can save some cars. That's what I got for you. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.